Let's start with L'Jarius Sneed, who is the headliner here on this episode. Already tagged by the Kansas City Chiefs, but reports are that they are open to trading.
Yes.
Right?
I'm expecting them to do so.
They need to sign Chris Jones. There's only so much room to go around. I think they want to spend some money on the offense this offseason. L'Jarius Sneed, 27 years old, inside, outside versatility. Last year was one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. He did also lead the NFL with 11 defensive penalties among cornerbacks. This is a player who is theoretically in his prime, although cornerback performance notoriously a little bit unsticky year to year. But I would make the case that for the Eagles, as much as they need help at linebacker and safety, you look at the list of the top 100 guys that I have there, like the cornerback options are not great.
No.
They're mostly guys who are 29 and 30 years old, and if you're going to sign one of those guys, do you really need to pay the money to release James Bradbury? Would you rather just roll the dice with him?
Who you're already paying, no matter what.
Who you're already paying. So, like, I think you can make a case that the most significant upgrade they can make on the defense is a lockdown corner. Those guys are not available. So, with 2 second-round picks, if you were the Eagles, would you consider trading for L'Jarius Sneed?
No. I would
You wouldn't
not
even consider it.
I would not give up a second-round pick for L'Jarius Sneed and then go on to pay him $20 million. That's just not the way I would personally operate. In your piece, and we're allowed the references specifically.
Yeah.
You have to be a diehard to read the whole piece, but one thing Bo mentions in there is a Reddick for Sneed swap. That would be more interesting to me. Like, that would make sense to me. Okay, you're trading a starter for a starter for a starter, a blue chip player for a blue chip player. I value edge rushers more, but there's the age
A couple
delta
years
there.
older.
Exactly.
He doesn't want to be here, maybe.
Yeah, so that would interest me more than I don't want to give up. I would not give up a second-round pick and then go on and pay $20 million. There's just there's not enough data points to show free agent corners are, have that type of consistency when you pay them that type of money. I would rather try to develop corners, something the Eagles haven't done well organically.
Easier said than done.
Much easier said than done for sure. But that's not something that would interest me. They did it for Slay a few years ago, and it was a third and a fifth, right? And then they go on and they give him a big deal.
And he was 28 at the time?
And he was 28 at the time. So, and that's a trade the Eagles would make again. I'm curious your thoughts. I would not trade a second-round pick for him and then go on and pay him $20 million.
So I would be surprised if Howie Roseman is not sniffing around this and considering it, because of the reason I said that I do think that, like, locking in a premier corner opposite Darius Slay is probably the biggest difference they can make on the defense in one addition. And we know that he likes to be involved in everything.
Yes.
What would worry me is just the general volatility of performance at the cornerback position. Mm-hmm. Now, like, the penalties are one thing, and maybe it gives you like bad flashbacks to Byron Maxwell. But I think Sneed is a good enough player, a versatile enough player that he would be able to overcome those things. You're getting him a little bit more like in the middle of his prime than anybody else who you could add. We know Howie Roseman. We know that he, as Jason Kelce said yesterday, like, he's going to try to do everything he can to make the team as good as it can be this year. I do not expect him to just sort of check a couple boxes in free agency and go toward the draft. I think there's probably some kind of significant trade coming, and cornerback makes the most sense to me. So Sneed is like the guy who seems obvious, but would I trade a second-round pick and pay him? Probably not, but I would be if it's a third-round pick and something else, I would probably make that deal.
Do you think the evaluation of Kelee Ringo should factor into this at all?
It should factor into it. I don't think it should because to me, if you were to trade for L'Jarius Sneed, it's a perfect situation.
It's the next 5 years, yeah.
It's one more year, and then Kelee Ringo is able to take over for Darius Slay.
Yep,
if
exactly.
he is who you think he is, right? I don't think that you want Keely Ringo to have to be the number 2 corner this year. If he could, if you end up signing a Band-Aid type player instead of trading for a stud and he beats that person out, that's great. But I think you want him ready to be the number 3 corner, because you also have to be prepared for, Darius Slay to either be injured or drop off in terms of effectiveness.
Now, Dane Brugler, who we both respect at The Athletic, he's the draft analyst there. He has a mock draft out today, and he has the Eagles trading up to number 17 to take Terrion Arnold. Okay, and in that deal, he has them giving up 97, so that's a 3rd-round pick, and then a 2025 4th-round pick to move up, and you're getting a guy who's potentially the top corner in the draft, but also you don't know. Whereas with a free agent player, there's a better sense of who he is at the NFL level. If you're going to trade draft picks for a starting corner, would you rather trade up in the draft and get a guy like Arnold, who might be the best corner, or would you rather trade that draft pick and then spend the money and then then you still have your 1st-round pick at your disposal to take that right tackle, to take edge rusher, to take someone at a premium position?
It depends entirely on
the player,
on the context
sure.
and the player, right? Depends how old they are. I would rather have the player locked in if it was if it was the right fit. But yeah, it's so context dependent.
And then you
know one guy I'm thinking about. The Panthers obviously have lost some draft capital. They've got a new staff. Are they as attached to J.C. Horn as the previous regime?
Well, J.C. Horn had a down year this year. He was benched at one point. That's a good point. Maybe, in his 5th-year option's coming up, and they're going to have the decision whether to exercise it or not. If they don't exercise it, do you want J.C. Horn as a lame duck? I shouldn't say lame duck, on an expiring contract.
They liked J.C. Horn.
The Eagles really like J.C. Horn. Still only 24 years old,
and
24 years old.
He has very high quality tape
traits
in the past.
Exactly.
Yes.
That would interest me. And that's going to cost you, it'll probably cost you less than it's certainly going to cost you less financially than Snead, but you probably don't even have to give up a 2nd-round pick. Maybe it's a 3rd and a 5th. So it could be the Slay deal, right? That would interest me. I like the way you think there. I like the way you
It's a
think.
former 1st-round pick. Yeah. Of course you like it.
We all silly like the mayor.